Roger Mark de Souza is Director of Population, Environmental Security and Resilience for the Wilson Center's Environmental Change and Security Program. And he joins us to discuss the intersection of food security, climate change, population dynamics in the Sahel. And you're just back from a trip to Africa.
That's right.
Tell us about who was there and what was the agenda.
So I've just returned from Niger, and I was meeting with colleagues from Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, and Niger, who are working on food security in the region and paying special attention to population dynamics and what it means for building resilience. So these are researchers, they're technical individuals, as well as policymakers who are trying to figure out what they can do and what's next.
And then will they communicate what they decide to the governments, both regionally and around the world?
I don't know that it will be an immediate communication. This was convened by the UC Berkeley, so University of California, Berkeley, an initiative called the Oasis Initiative, whereby they're trying to develop leadership in the Sahel to address these issues. So it was a technical meeting to have an understanding of what's happening in the region so that you can better address and develop policies and programs to respond to these challenges. So there will be some communication and mobilizing with donors and policymakers in those countries, but it's not going to be a firm decision. It's really thinking about what can be done and how they can work together.
I want to ask you about some of the specifics, but first, maybe we spend a moment on geography, just for people unfamiliar. This narrow swath of land that is one of the harshest regions on the planet.
Yes.
Indian Ocean, or the Red Sea on one side, the Atlantic Ocean on the other.
Right. Very dry
desert
area.
To the north.
Right.
And the savanna of the Sudanian savanna to the south.
So it really spans the African continent, really going from the Sahara to the savannas. A very dry area, very drought prone, and chronic food insecurity in this region.
And what are the issues, Roger Mark? You've just listed them, but are some getting worse? Are there some situations based on either population growth or climate change where it's exacerbating an already tough situation?
Yeah, I think so. At the same time, you go to a country like Niger, where on average a woman during her lifetime will have just more than 7 children. The total fertility rate is 7.6 children. So that's quite significant. Yes. That's the highest total fertility rate in the world. More than just about 50% of the population is age 14 and below. So you have a rapid population growth, a very young population. You also have the highest rate of marriage for young girls in the world.
Why is this the case? It's somewhat counterintuitive in that you're talking about a very harsh environment, and yet the highest birth rate on the planet.
Yeah, I think that there's also the highest unmet need for family planning. So many of these women would like to have access to reproductive health services, but are unable to access them because of distance, because of inavailability of the materials that they need, cultural taboos associated with these issues, women's traditional roles and the status of women in the Sahel. So these are very important challenges, and they're exacerbating at this time when we have rapid climate change impacts, severe drought, and really chronic food insecurity. So typically we think of a shock. You know, there's not enough food to feed this population. In the Sahel, there have been a significant amount of droughts in the past decade, and it's anticipated that every 2 years a country in the Sahel can experience drought, and in every decade can experience severe drought, which leads to an inability to meet the food needs of those populations.
And the basics of fresh water.
The basics of fresh water. And also it means that they're unable to provide the economic input and outputs that they need. So it affects their livelihoods and well-being. So this is really a critical issue.
So what are some of the best ideas that you heard during this conference? Are there reasons for hope?
I think there are reasons for hope. We visited a project site just about half an hour away from Niamey, the capital Capital, which is a wonderful project that was working in a very somewhat rural, very dry, arid community, helping them understand different agricultural techniques that are important to increase their livelihoods. So I am in a desert landscape meeting a young woman who is showing me the solar panel in her community that has allowed them to really increase their agricultural yield. And the message coming out of that was agriculture can be a source of richness and wealth for you and your community. It helps you meet your basic needs, but it also can lead to very good ways to diversify your income and earn money. And that was a very positive message. These women were coming away from this project empowered, committed to education, recognizing that the climate was changing and that agriculture and agricultural sustainability was central to their well-being and to the well-being of their children.
And a final thought, what will it take to increase the speed of this type of progress? What are the things that are needed?
I think lessons learned about what is working in terms of technologies, in terms of appropriate local ownership, in terms of gender mainstreaming and recognizing the important role that women play in the well-being of these communities, and that includes having access to reproductive health services and finding ways to recognize that if we think about resilience in the Sahel, it's not only a question of shocks, but there's this chronic condition, and we need to plan for that early with early warning systems that mobilize the community and donors.
Well, thanks. And as things progress, we look forward to hearing more from you about it.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you.